There are encounters in life that do not feel accidental. They arrive like whispers from the divine, like echoes of a forgotten promise made long before this lifetime. You meet someone, and without explanation, your soul leans in. Time slows, the room stills, and suddenly, something ancient inside you awakens. This is not chemistry, it's memory. It's the recognition of a pattern far older than your current self. It's a knowing, without proof. Carl Jung called this the movement of the collective unconscious, where the soul remembers what the mind cannot grasp. These moments carry a strange electricity, as if destiny had been rehearsing your meeting over lifetimes. It's not a matter of if, it's when, and when it comes, you'll know. Comment: I believe in divine connection below, if this truth resonates deep within your soul. This invisible thread, this sacred pull, is more than romance, it's initiation. It doesn't start with infatuation, but with a sense of inner stillness, as if your soul exhales when you're with them. These connections don't ask for permission, they crash into your life as synchronicities. You run into them repeatedly. You dream of them before they arrive. The symbols align, and it's not chance, it's order, unfolding. Jung's theory of synchronicity explains this precisely: meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by cause, but reveal profound purpose. These moments aren't just charming, they're messengers, and they are the first spiritual sign, repeating, improbable meetings charged with emotional intensity. They're not accidents, they're divine timestamps. The second signal is the inexplicable feeling that your meeting serves something higher. You're not just intrigued by this person, you feel summoned by them. They enter your life at a precise moment, in heartbreak, in transformation, or just before a breakthrough. Their presence isn't neutral, it catalyzes something sacred. They hold a mirror to the parts of you that were asleep. They remind you of who you could become. This isn't just love, it's alchemy. You may feel your entire internal world shifting. That's how you know this isn't ordinary, it's archetypal. As Jung taught, the psyche always moves toward wholeness, and certain people are brought into our lives as vessels of that evolution. The third spiritual sign is a sense of recognition beyond the senses. You may have just met, but you feel like you've known them forever. You speak with ease. Your silence feels sacred. You're not learning them, you're remembering them. This is not projection, it's resonance. A soul resonance that transcends logic. Jung would say that in moments like this, the personal unconscious overlaps with the collective, and in that overlap something eternal speaks. You don't need to force connection, it simply flows. There is safety, even in uncertainty. There is familiarity, even in mystery. That's how love feels when it's written into the blueprint of your becoming. The fourth spiritual signal emerges in the realm of symbols, numbers, songs, dreams, animals, and shared messages seem to follow you both, like the universe is speaking in metaphor. Perhaps you both see the same sequence of numbers, or dream the same dream on the same night. Perhaps you keep hearing the same song when you think of them, or animals appear in your path at pivotal moments. These aren't mere coincidences, they are archetypal messages from the unconscious. Jung believed the psyche is constantly communicating through symbols, and when two souls are meant to evolve together, those messages multiply. These signals are not just magical, they are meaningful, they guide you inward, they urge you to listen, to awaken. But awakening is never comfortable. That's the fifth sign. This person doesn't just soothe you, they stretch you. They challenge you in ways that no one else has. You may feel deeply safe with them, yet strangely exposed. Their presence triggers dormant wounds, unconscious fears, forgotten memories, and you begin to wonder, why do they affect me so deeply? It's because they're not just touching your heart, They're activating your shadow. Jung defined the shadow as the hidden part of the psyche, where we store all that we reject or suppress. When someone is meant for you at the soul level, they don't just comfort your light, they confront your darkness. And they do so not to hurt you, but to help you integrate, to help you return to wholeness. The sixth signal is the eruption of intense emotional reactions you weren't expecting. Perhaps you feel unexplainable jealousy, sudden fear of abandonment, or overwhelming vulnerability, even if there's no rational cause. These feelings aren't about them. They're about you. More specifically, they're about the unhealed parts of you that their presence exposes. They are the mirror, not the wound. And that mirror is sacred, for through it you begin to see what you've hidden even from yourself. As Jung wrote, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When you're meant to be with someone, your reactions aren't red flags, they're roadmaps. They show you where your healing is asking to begin. The seventh sign is projection. But not just any projection. It's the moment you realize that what you admire or resent in the other is something unclaimed within yourself. You may love their confidence, not realizing it's a reflection of your own potential. You may dislike their independence, not seeing it's something your soul longs to embody. Jung saw projection as a bridge to the unconscious, and in a spiritual relationship, these projections become invitations to reclaim lost aspects of the self. This person becomes both muse and mirror, not because they complete you, but because they reveal what already lives inside you, waiting to rise. The eighth spiritual sign is crisis, not to destroy the bond, but to refine it. You see, when a connection is truly sacred, it doesn't stay on the surface. It dives into the psyche, where old patterns, traumas, and survival mechanisms reside. That journey inevitably brings conflict, but these conflicts are not punishments. They are initiations. When arguments arise, when distance occurs, when misunderstandings unfold, they serve a deeper function, to awaken emotional maturity. In a relationship guided by spiritual growth, crisis becomes classroom, tension becomes teacher, and love does not avoid the lesson, it walks through it. Jung believed that true transformation often occurs through tension of opposites, and in this sacred tension, the soul stretches into wisdom. The ninth sign is perhaps the most humbling, seeing the other's shadow and loving them anyway. In most relationships, we fall in love with the light, but in spiritual ones, we are asked to embrace the dark, not to enable it, but to understand it, their flaws, their wounds, their insecurities. They don't repulse you, they reveal their humanity. And instead of demanding perfection, you offer presence. That is the essence of archetypal love. It doesn't ask for illusions, it asks for awareness. When both partners can hold space for each other's full truth, the light and the shadow, love becomes an alchemical fire. It refines, not burns. It purifies, not destroys. And in that fire, both souls begin to shine more authentically than ever before. The 10th signal is vulnerability, not just expressing it, but being received in it. This relationship becomes a sanctuary. You can say what hurts without fear. You can share what scares you without shame. You're not trying to impress, you're trying to be real, and in being real, you're met with love, not judgment. This kind of sacred space is rare. It is built on the integration of the inner masculine and feminine, what Jung called the animus and anima. When a person has done the work to connect with their own polarity, the strength to hold and the softness to feel, they no longer seek wholeness in another. They seek resonance. And that is what creates a field where vulnerability is not weakness, but wisdom. The 11th sign is when the other seems to unlock something hidden within you. Not because they push you, but because their very presence evokes what's been dormant. Maybe you begin to write again. Maybe you start to feel things you thought were long gone. maybe your creativity returns, or your laughter becomes louder. This is the soul saying, "We remember now." Jung saw this as the projection of the self, the highest version of you being reflected back by another. It's not worship, it's awakening, and in that awakening, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself piece by sacred piece. The 12th and final signal is the sensation that your connection transcends time, space, and logic. You can't explain why you care so deeply, why their presence feels like home, why even in silence your hearts are in conversation. This goes beyond compatibility, beyond attraction. It is a sacred knowing. You don't need to prove it to anyone, not even to yourself, because something deep within already understands. Jung believed that when the self is activated through another, we experience the archetype of wholeness, the union of opposites, the sacred marriage of inner masculine and feminine. That feeling of timelessness is not delusion, it is alignment, a quiet reunion of two souls who are always meant to meet in this lifetime, for this purpose. But even the most divine connection must shed its projections. And so the journey continues, from illusion to clarity, from fantasy to truth. In the beginning, we often fall in love with what we project onto the other, our ideal image, our unmet needs, our hidden hopes. This is natural. It's the psyche's attempt to return to the self. But with time and awareness, those projections dissolve. What remains is not fantasy, but real love. A love that sees the other not as savior or soulmate or symbol, but as human, flawed, beautiful, becoming. And in that shift, love deepens. It roots. It breathes. When both people begin to see each other clearly, without masks, without illusions, a new phase begins. The connection no longer thrives on longing, but on presence. It no longer seeks to be completed, but to be expressed. And what emerges is a partnership based on truth, not projection, on mutual growth, not dependency, on sacred witnessing, not silent suffering. This is where love transforms from story into structure, from a feeling into a foundation, from a pull into a path. And it is here, in this grounded sacredness, that true spiritual love begins to live. Such a bond becomes more than a relationship. It becomes a living journey, a mirror in motion. Every gesture reflects an inner movement. Every challenge becomes an invitation. Every silence carries depth. You begin to walk, not just beside each other, but through each other, unveiling layer after layer of soul. Jung wrote that the goal of life is individuation, becoming your true self. And in this kind of love, you don't just walk toward yourself, you do it hand in hand with someone who reflects your becoming. You don't lose yourself, you meet yourself, in their eyes, in their presence, in their truth. In the deepest chamber of Carl Jung's psychology lies a sacred truth, that within each of us exists both the masculine and feminine principles, not defined by gender, but by energy. The anima is the feminine image in the male unconscious, intuition, feeling, receptivity. The animus is the masculine image in the female unconscious, clarity, direction, purpose. These archetypes shape how we love, what we seek, and why certain people magnetize our souls. When we are disconnected from these inner forces, we project them outward, we chase them in others, we mistake need for love. But when we begin to integrate these energies, when a woman finds her inner strength, when a man honors his emotional truth, we are no longer seeking completion. We are ready to meet love as whole beings. This is the essence of spiritual partnership. It is not built from emptiness, but from abundance. You do not need each other. You recognize each other. You don't grasp. You open. And in that opening, the dance begins. Each partner reflects what the other has cultivated within. The masculine protects, not controls. The feminine receives, not submits. There is rhythm, there is breath, and there is deep mutual respect. Jung believed that when anima and animus are integrated, the individual becomes capable of sacred union, one that reflects the balance of inner harmony. This kind of relationship doesn't cage you, it liberates you. Not through perfection, but through polarity. You begin to notice it in how you communicate. There's more listening than reacting, more curiosity than assumption. When disagreements arise, they aren't wars, they are conversations. You don't seek to win. You seek to understand. There is space for emotions without shame, space for boundaries without blame. You both hold each other, not to possess but to uplift. And slowly the relationship becomes an alchemical container, one where the raw elements of your psyche, the fear, the grief, the longing, are burned, reshaped and transformed into gold. That gold isn't made of pleasure, it's made of presence. The kind of presence that says, I see you, and I'm still here. And when that space is honored, something beautiful unfolds. You stop trying to fix each other. You start witnessing each other. The wounds you once tried to hide become portals of connection. The flaws become bridges, not barriers. And in that safety, new aspects of your soul emerge. You begin to write the story of love, not from expectation, but from embodiment. This is how spiritual love transforms. It begins in fire, is shaped in shadow, and settles into light. Not the blinding kind, but the quiet one. The kind that glows from within, that never rushes and never fades. The kind that waits, that sees, that holds. There is a sacred unfolding that happens when two souls, whole within themselves, choose to walk together. They are no longer clinging to the other for identity, but reflecting back each other's essence with clarity and care. This kind of relationship doesn't need grand declarations. It moves in subtler ways, in the way your nervous system relaxes around them, in how your silence is respected, in how your chaos is not met with judgment but presence. It is an energy, not just an emotion. A homecoming, not a hiding. You don't feel consumed by them. You feel seen, and in that seeing, something ancient within you exhales. Jung called this a return to the self. And in this return, love is no longer fantasy, it becomes form. As the connection deepens, you begin to sense that every encounter, every lesson, even every rupture between you, holds spiritual meaning. Even the pain becomes purposeful. You realize that the conflicts were never about winning, they were about revealing. The distance wasn't rejection, it was reflection. And even the silence carried a message from the unconscious. This is how the soul speaks when we are ready to listen. When love is sacred, nothing is wasted. Every moment becomes a mirror. Every touch becomes a transmission. And every hardship becomes a gate through which you walk into greater wholeness, hand in hand. Eventually you look back and realize they were never just a person, they were a path back to yourself, to your buried voice, your suppressed creativity, your dormant courage. And maybe that was the point all along. Spiritual connections aren't about fairy tales, they're about truth, about growth, about learning to love without losing yourself. When someone is truly meant for you, their love won't try to rewrite your story. It will help you remember it, piece by piece, page by page, until you no longer fear your past and no longer shrink from your future, because you're no longer fragmented, you are found. So if you've ever wondered whether your connection was more than just timing, look for these signs, the synchronicities, the mirrors, the discomfort that leads to healing, the shadow that asks to be seen, the presence that never asks you to be anything but yourself. These are the signals of spiritual alignment, of soul recognition, of archetypal love. A love that is not rushed, not loud, but real, rooted, eternal. If this message has stirred something in you, if it echoed like a bell in a quiet room, then perhaps, just perhaps, your soul is remembering something it always knew. If you've made it this far, drop 100 in the comments. It shows you are part of the 1% that's improving every single day.